Welcome, 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 everyone. Tonight we have a very exciting topic today on the Wave Affair podcast. Something a little off the board, but a little related. Something that's near and dear to my heart on two counts. As a reminder, I'm Quinn Rollo, and I love baseball, but I also love movies. And since the Oscars just occurred, the 97th Academy Awards just occurred this past Sunday, we thought it would be a great time to talk about some of the great baseball movies ever made. And I'm excited to talk about this more and, hopefully not irritate my two co-hosts too much during this podcast. But we'll wait and see. I'll kick it on over to Matt.
I'm excited about this topic too. I am not a movie aficionado like Quinn is, but I am a baseball aficionado, if I can say that correctly. And then I do love baseball movies, so I'm excited about this topic. And my name is Matt Taylor for the Wave podcast.
All right. And I am Greco. I love baseball. I enjoy movies. But by virtue of putting the two together, I tend to love baseball movies. So I'm excited about this one as well. Mr. Rollo's going to geek out and give you every inch of detail about what color socks they wore when they decided to make the movie and what every actor in the movie that was in the background was an extra on whatever movie was previously. And so buckle up, folks. This one's going to be a good one.
I'll see how much I can talk off the cuff without even referring to anything on my phone either.
Oh, challenge boy. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, I'll tell you what, it's funny because Mr. Rollo was not the one who recommended this be our topic today. It was actually Mr. Taylor. And he gave a little tease earlier. So I'm curious. Mr. Taylor, favorite all time?
I've always been partial to The Natural.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that movie. I like I like Redford in it, and I like Duvall in it. And I like the crotchety manager that Wilford Brimley is too. I enjoy his character in that movie.
Has there ever been a man who has likely looked like he was 55 years old out of the womb than Wilford Brimley?
Yeah.
I don't understand how he looked the same age for like seemingly 50 years.
He plays a good crotchety old man, and I like his assistant manager too. I forgot who the character was, but I like his character too.
Oh.
I like the music. I like they play that they play that
Yeah.
after a home run. I enjoy that.
You know who the composer is of that score?
Here we go.
Told you.
Randy Newman.
Mm-hmm.
He of the more, I think most people, at least cinematically, associate him with "You Got a Friend in Me."
I was gonna say, isn't he like a country music?
Well, like classic, kind of. I mean, he's been making music for years and years and years. He's like, I think, of Dylan's generation, for crying out loud. And but like his most enduring song, again affiliated with movies, is the Toy Story, the original Toy Story song. It's a crime that didn't end up winning Best Original Song from a motion picture back when it came out in '95. But the guy's been making music for so long, and that's something that I always thought was kind of an interesting little factoid, because it's a film score that's pretty damn memorable in The Natural. But it's actually, I don't know if it's his brother or his cousin. I know it's a relative. Thomas Newman is a composer of a lot of great scores for films. And Randy Newman, I always associate more with songs. So the fact that he actually wrote the score for The Natural, I always find is pretty interesting.
Good. I like that.
Yeah.
What about you, Greco?
So the Natural to me was that was my mother's favorite movie,
Mm.
and as a kid, it wasn't mine, but I certainly grew to appreciate it.
Did your mother have a crush on Robert Redford? Because that might have had something to do with it.
I never asked her. Um, maybe, you know,
I mean, who didn't? Who among us hasn't had a crush on Robert Redford at some point?
certainly not you, Mr. Rollo. Certainly
No,
not
no.
you. Yeah, certainly not you. So I like it. I respect it. It's not my favorite, and I don't necessarily know if it's in my top 10,
Mm.
but it's also one that I think if I think back to it, I don't know if I necessarily gave it a fair shake. You know what I mean? Um, I do have somewhere around here because I did buy a limited edition Blu-ray back in yeah, I had like the hat and
Oh yeah, the New York Knights hat.
yeah, yeah. I don't know
Oh,
where that is. I was kind of tinkering while you were talking about it, trying to think where I might be able to pull that thing out, but
yeah.
no, I unfortunately don't have that. So, um,
I would say Wilford Brimley is not my favorite managerial character in a movie. I'd have to say it's Tom Hanks, and the reason I
Oh,
like
oh.
uh, Tom Hanks, and I'll say why, is when he's, it's not he says, there's no crying in baseball,
mhm.
but when he argues with the umpire and he says, anybody ever tell you look like a little penis with a hat on?
And then when he throws him out, I love how Hanks goes like, "No, no, 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 you misunderstood me."
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'll tell you what, one of the best parts about these movies we're going to be talking about tonight, especially certain ones, whether they're the comedy ones, the rom coms, the depiction of the crotchety manager,
Oh yeah.
absolutely classic. Absolutely classic.
Dropping
Um,
nuggets of wisdom though, because in that movie, another one of the sneaky great parts is when Tom Hanks is trying to convince Gina Davis's character Dottie to like stay in it, but she's really having a kind of rough go of it. I forget exactly at what moment in the movie it is, but she's like crying. She's like, it's just got too hard, and he says, "Of course it's hard. It's supposed to be hard. Otherwise, everyone would do it."
mhm,
And it's like, what a great freaking message, and totally true about baseball, where
100% true.
you're considered a Hall of Famer if you only succeed 3 out of 10 times. I mean, eesh.
And they'll count how many times you fail too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's funny. The one little nugget that I can share um, about that movie. One, somehow, somewhere, I don't know where. It's very distant from what I understand. But um, Madonna and I apparently share some genes.
Really
Yeah, yeah. So
interesting. Going back to the motherland, Greco.
yeah, so she's a Ciccone
Huh.
from the same region of Italy as I am. So I think it was either like a great uncle or whatever cousin of some sort somewhere her great whatever. Um, but yeah, but the other little nugget that I know, and this has nothing to do with anything that's ever been interesting, um, but uh, the Opie and Anthony show,
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
right? So apparently Opie is somehow related. I don't know if it's his grandmother or um, another like great aunt or something like that. But apparently he's related to All the Way May.
The original All the Way May.
The original real life.
Interesting.
Ah,
Huh.
cool.
Yeah, and he used to talk about it a lot on the show. So,
You
Interesting.
know, a league of their own. And now that I think about it, because I'm pretty sure they came out in 1992, and that might be one of the first baseball movies that I remember seeing in the theater. Now that I think about it, uh, my dad was so busy, being a primary care doctor, working all the time, that like I remember it. I I'd have to double check when its release date was, but I'm pretty sure it must have been a summer release at some point. So my mom would take me and my little sister out, to movies, for like matinees, and I remember that being one of them. And it just strikes me as like, I don't know if kids the age that I was and my little sister was would have the attention span for that movie these days. But that's over 30 years ago now. But I just remember, like, even at that time as a kid, being like, "This is good. Like, I like this. This is funny. This is good."
Yeah.
I remember having a crush on Gina Davis.
Oh, yeah. I still get so freaking pissed at the ending of that movie. Now I have to ask: do you think Kit actually jarred that ball loose from Gina Davis, or do you think Gina Davis intentionally dropped it to give Kit that moment?
Hmm.
You know, I think she did it.
You think she actually jarred it, and that she didn't drop it on purpose?
No, I think she dropped it on purpose.
You think, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just making this up. I never thought of it that deep. I just
I, I'm I'm inclined to think that, just because I don't think there's any way Dottie's way too good to have actually had that ball knocked out of her grip. But I do think she, uh since she was going to be done, Kit was going to keep going. I think that she decided she was going to let Kit have this one. Have that
Yeah,
be the
she only
thing.
played in game 7.
Yeah,
She took off for wherever. I don't know.
that's right.
Games 1 through 6.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. All I know is that when I was a kid, I liked them long and lean. Now I like them long and lean. So
Had it tight. Still have it tight.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, I don't want to be that guy, but I'm gonna be pretty non-committal about what my favorite baseball movie is of
Mm.
all time because it really does depend on the damn day,
Mm.
right? Um, so I'll certainly trickle mine in, but as I'm trying to narrow it down, Mr. Rollo, can you pinpoint a favorite?
So it's interesting for me because, on the one hand, like my adult self can recognize that perhaps the like best, uh quote unquote, like most kind of like critically like the technically best baseball movie might be Moneyball. It's so exceptionally rendered, like a book about kind of, subject matter that might have been kind of difficult to fully capture cinematically, that I thought Bennett Miller, um, and Aaron, I think Aaron Sorkin wrote that. Did he write that? I'm trying to think of who adapted that. Um, Nonetheless, it was really effectively kind of depicted. Great, very favorable to Billy Bean, rendition of him by Brad Pitt, and speaking of managers, maybe one of the greatest
Yeah,
portrayals of a manager ever, Philip Seymour Hoffman as Art Howe. It's just talk about crotchety. He was so
and and
great.
and Lost. I mean, they made Art Howe look lost, and from the actual book, and how it was written. That was something that seemed to be accurate to the at least the observations of the book. But I know Art Howe was not happy with the depiction.
Aaron Sorkin did so. So Aaron Sorkin co-wrote it along with Steve Zalian, which is just insane of a dream team for those two guys to have adapted that book. Considering Steve Zalian also wrote Schindler's List, and Aaron Sorkin was also responsible for obviously The West Wing and Social Network, and he's a great writer in his own right. So like just and the way that movie like crackles in certain moments, particularly when Billy Bean is like wheeling and dealing in the office, like like all like the kind of playing one general manager against the other, like doing those deals. Um, it just really entertaining but thoughtful too, and I thought captured the whole that whole season really well. But I'm sure Greco will have more to say about that. Having said all that, there's something about baseball because of the nostalgia of it. I can't not root it in my childhood, like kind of sense of kind of wonder about the sport, um and how much I just freaking love the Sandlot. And how I think the Sandlot captures the 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 most, perhaps the purest childlike essence that baseball can pull out of like even grown men. um like whenever you see these grown like elite athletes jumping up and down after like a walk-off hit, it's just like they're little kids again playing in the Sandlot. Like and so the way that movie captures that sort of spirit is just something that I have a hard time ever ranking anything above the Sandlot. I just think that's as far as baseball movies go, it's just a masterpiece.
Can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'd never seen it.
Oh,
Wow.
Never seen it.
Wow. Okay.
so
Wow.
I was right in the sweet spot because that came out when I think I was almost maybe 10 years old when that came out. So I was like basically the age of the boys in that movie. So watching it was like, oh, this is like what this is like if I were that age in 1962. Like, wow.
Yeah, 93. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you what. So not my favorite,
Mm,
but certainly a classic.
mm,
And I mean, obviously you illustrated it, but how that movie ends with
mm.
the pro scene at the end, and it kind of does reflect what you were talking about. But I'll tell you what, Mr. Taylor, um, it's certainly worth a watch. I mean, it was something that I watched when I was a kid too, um, and it wasn't until, I mean, it had to have been the 20th anniversary. MLB Network was just riddled with like reflections of the Sandlot, and had like some of the old characters come back. And
Mm-hmm.
what was the girl's name, dude? I'm forgetting.
Oh, Wendy Peppercorn.
Yes, I kept on trying to say. I was thinking about Susie Peppercorn.
Yeah.
So I mean, like her, and
Oh, yeah.
I think that even during the All Star game, they made it a point to have some of the characters as adults playing in the home run derby, the celebrity home run derby that year. Um, so I think I've grown a little bit more nostalgic about it after seeing it again in whenever that anniversary was, because I hadn't watched it much. Um, it wasn't a rewatcher for me as a kid
Mm,
compared to some of the others, you know. And since you brought up and you talked about Moneyball, one of the things that I absolutely love
mm.
about Moneyball, one, I've probably read the book cover to cover 12 times.
Wow.
Um, it's
Impressive.
it's yeah, especially the Bill James chapters. That's an impressive thing to get through. But it certainly um, I guess, indoctrinated myself to some of the things we've been talking about,
Mm.
gave me more of an appreciation for some of these stat nerds, right? That we so poetically like to discuss. Um,
Slash disparage.
yeah, yeah. Um, and I think that's why I don't as much. Um, but at the same time, I mean, I remember that season. That was, um, one of my best friends who I still play baseball with now is like a diehard Yankee fan.
Mm.
And we ended our season against the Yankees with the that year with the Jeter play.
The Jeter flip to get Giambi out at home. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I remember this was the year Giambi left us. Damon went to Boston, lost Folk. We had all these people to replace, and I remember being devastated.
Mm.
And we opened up the season against the Yankees with Giambi coming to Oakland, and I had at least 12 people at my house, all Yankee fans, because there's no A's fans around here, all Yankees fans, and it was just me. You
Uh,
know what? We beat them, and I loved it.
nice.
Huddy pitched a hell of a game, and we put a spanking on them. So that season though was like an up and down battle. I remember when Rincon pitched against us, and then the next day was in our uniform. I remember when Scott Hatteberg um, took took over first base. I remember when we got Carlos Pena and being so excited about it because he was going to be the replacement. He was the younger Giambi. He had the pop. He had all this stuff. And then when they traded him away for Mabry, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Because that was my hype for that season. But I'll tell you what, Mabry came through.
Mm.
It was around this time that I think I really started to appreciate what exactly Billy Bean was doing. And now, mind you, you know, I'm all of 20 years old at this point. 22 maybe, yeah, 22,
Mm.
and um, just eating this alive. Um, and so that whole movie, not only is I love it because about my boys, but I love it because that season was insane for me, and the characters that came out of it, you know, the stuff that they didn't show in the movie that was in the book. Um, I know I touched upon it, like the Chad Bradford stuff
Uh-huh.
and how he learned how to throw a sidearm because his father had a stroke. And
Right.
that was like a reflection of, I mean, just some pretty incredible stuff.
Well, and his submariner delivery was to the point. I remember them doing a slow mo close up of his delivery, and his knuckles would scrape. It
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But talk about a guy who didn't get a lot of strikeouts, got a lot of ground balls,
Oh yeah.
and he could get you out of a jam. I remember him coming in with the bases loaded with no outs more often than not, and somehow they get the out of home, and then they turn a double play, and we were out of the inning.
Mm.
It just seemed like that was probably the most craftfully um, um, put together team. And then another thing that's not highlighted in the movie, and they would have bored the shit out of you had they did. But um, that year's draft,
Mm.
um, they talked a little bit about it, right? But they ended up picking Nick Swisher,
Oh, that was Swisher.
right?
That's right, because he was a little more in like the kind of mid 2000s when he started making an impact on the team, right?
They grabbed Joe Blanton,
Oh yeah, yeah.
um, they knew they weren't going to be able to get Verlander. All right, so these guys that ended up becoming pretty significant parts of not just the A's teams, but also throughout the season were highlighted in it. Um, so certainly a fantastic movie.
I
Um,
think when you alluded to Hatterberg taking over first, that might be one of my sneaky favorite parts of the movie. When I think it's Billy Bean and Ron Washington going out to Hatterberg to convince him to take over first, and Billy Bean's just kind of shooting the shit, just being like, "Hey, you can take over first. It's not that hard." Ron, tell him it's incredibly hard.
yeah, yeah. Well, and the funny thing about Ron Washington,
Yeah.
and I don't know how much you folks know about him, but you know, he is credited to being as one of the best defensive coaches, specifically for the infield, ever. And
Interesting.
um, Eric Chavez directly, um, credits him for all of his Gold Gloves.
Really?
And in fact, during Hurricane Katrina, he lost some of the Gold Gloves that Eric Chavez had given him, because he had given him some just as, hey, you've earned these. And so Xavi went back to the league in Rollins and paid to get more Gold Gloves made to reflect that, and gave him to Wash.
That's nice.
I just remember him as the manager in Game 6 of
Texas,
2011.
yeah, with Texas.
And
Yeah.
I don't remember him doing anything wrong. Like they just could not get that last out.
No.
They just could not do it.
That was one of the years of the Cardinals one, right?
Yeah.
Cardinals Rangers. Yeah.
That was one of the best games,
Ever. Yep.
hands down. I mean,
Yep.
what the heck? I mean, everything. And it wasn't like you said, nobody did anything wrong. It was just great baseball at the right time. I mean, the hitters came in clutch.
Do you think Nelson Cruz should have made that catch?
Okay, yeah. Well, yes.
I
If
don't know,
if
man. That's a tough play.
it is, but it's only tough because Nelson Cruz is out there.
Yeah, I guess.
You know what I'm
No, I
saying?
wouldn't have made that play.
But you get somebody else out there defensively, But then there's the Bill Buckner story, right? So, but at the same time, they had so many other chances to put that game away that ends up not being much. Um, so sneaky favorite for me,
Mm.
because it's another true story, and I love true stories. The Rookie.
Ooh, Dennis
Haven't seen
Quaid.
that either.
Uh, um, oh, dude, I'm drawing a blank. What
Yeah,
was his?
Dennis Quaid is the actor.
Yeah, but what was his name in the movie? Wow, what is his name?
Let me pull
So,
it up here.
Mr. Taylor, true story.
Jimmy Morris.
Jimmy Morris, yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
High school teacher and coach in Texas. Um, had been scouted for the big leagues. Hurt himself, ends up being a science teacher. And this is where, there could be some dramatic licenses, but basically the team's not doing that well. And he starts throwing BP to them, and his arm's a little live. And so, like, coach, you're throwing pretty hard. He's like, I don't know. And so he decides that he's on his way home. He's like, all right, I'm going to check this out. And those little speedometers on the side of the road. He starts throwing, picks him up at, 87, 88, rising on a little bit more, getting to the 90s. And he's kind of like, oh, okay, wait a second. Tells his wife, hey, you wouldn't believe this. Well, team gets together a little bit later on, tells him, hey, here's the deal. We win X amount of games. You got to try out for MLB. And he's like, we win, I'll try out. Right?
Mm.
Ends up doing it. Starts throwing hard. Gets into the 90s. Next thing you know, he's in the minors. And he works his way up to the majors. And I'll tell you what, and I don't know why, I'm not an emotional guy watching movies, but the scene when he's in the bullpen in Texas, pitching for Tampa, and his wife and kids come to like the side there,
Mm.
I get a little weepy. But true story, again, there's obviously dramatic licenses involved with it,
Yeah.
but I love that one.
I only saw it the once, but I remember being like taken aback with how good it was. Like I think I was getting a little conditioned at the time. Maybe it was partly my age too, because I was what, I think like 18, 19 when that movie came out. Uh, so I was fancying myself more of like a getting into the the darker movies, the rated R movies, right?
Yeah.
Like working at Blockbuster Video, becoming more of a film nerd,
Yeah,
that kind of
no more
thing. And
scrambled Cinemax for you, buddy. Get real boo.
yeah,
Yeah, wearing your Blink 182 shirt. Yeah.
and I remember seeing it was a G-rated Disney drama, being like, oh, that's kind of weird. Uh, and but in retrospect, they were actually crushing it with good true stories, like live action dramas, because that, along with another movie that came out around the same time called The Straight Story, was another based on a true story film by David Lynch, of all people. Like, and if you can believe it, it wasn't like a mind fuck the way his movies usually are. It was actually a really touching story about a man going to care for his ailing brother, and doing so by basically driving a long distance on a rider tractor. it was a, and it was a really sweet, simple story. And that's kind of like what The Rookie was. It was just a really sweet, simple story, but effectively told.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I don't think I watched that until I was like early 30s. So I think I enjoyed it a little bit more
Mm.
because of that. Because it's certainly not a kid's movie.
No, no.
But yeah, Taylor, I recommend it. Another one. Put on your list.
The Rookie. Okay.
The Rookie.
Sandlot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, The Sandlot, you know, it's interesting because there's two other movies that came out right around the same time as The Sandlot that I would put a definitive tier below The Sandlot, that I have a little soft spot for, just because, again, I was like right at the age of the characters of the movie being depicted. But there were two movies in the early 90s, one
Oh,
of
garbage.
them called Little Big League.
Yeah, garbage.
Yeah, which is not good. I haven't seen it in a long time, but it's
But
basically
much better than the next one you're about to bring up.
oh, I'm well. Did you ever see Little Big League, Matt?
Yes.
Okay,
The guy
so
with the twins.
correct. Yes, he
Yeah.
becomes GM of the Twins. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
But the one that might have the funniest scene in the history of cinema is uh, that I especially have a soft spot for. Oh, and actually, I don't think that you're even talking. I think I know the one you're talking about, Greco. Just dawned on me that I'm not even talking about. So this is three movies. So there was a Sandlot, but then in addition to Sandlot, there was also Little Big League. There was Rookie of the Year,
Yes, I remember that one.
Rookie
Yeah.
of the Year, which has the hilarious, hook of a kid whose arm healed
Yeah, he
too
broke
much.
his arm
He
and yeah,
broke, and then
the
he could like
Cubs.
throw
Yeah.
just gas, and he got signed by the Cubs. But the funniest scene is when he gets the cast taken off, and they're testing it out,
Oh
and he
yeah, the
like
snaps.
whacks the doctor's
Yeah.
nose, and the doctor's like, "Funky butt loving."
Yeah.
Hilarious, especially the 10-year-old me. And I think,
So is that the funniest scene you were talking about?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. But I think the movie that you hate is Angels in the Outfield, right?
Yes. Yes. I don't care if Christopher Lloyd's in it.
Christopher Lloyd and Joseph Gordon-Levitt are national treasures, and their inclusion in the movie alone make it worthwhile.
With Tony Danza.
Tony Danza, Danny Glover, a young Matthew McConaughey. I'm pretty sure Noah Wiley's in it too. I mean, come on.
Dude, hot garbage.
Are you telling me you're not ready to? Yeah, I can't quite get the. Let me do the, the angel wave, right?
Dude. You know
Should I
what?
keep that one off my list?
Please, if you haven't seen it, dude, do yourself a favor and don't watch it.
Okay.
It is awful. It's a story about the California Angels at the time, California Angels, owned by Disney, mind you, and they had angels in the outfield that were helping the team win. And so,
Literal angels, mind you.
literal, yes, they would grab them and pick them up so they could fly and catch a ball.
That's right. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt, sweet little boy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was the only one who could see the angels. So he could see which player on the field was going to be aided by an angel. And so he was given the intel to Danny Glover's manager character so that he knew who to put in, who to start, who to, who to pinch hit, who to run, that kind of thing.
Talk about a waste.
It's good stuff.
Of Danny Glover as a Major League Baseball manager and how crotchety he could have been. No, he's going to listen to some freaking 8-year-old about which angel is sitting behind which player and how nervous that player is. Right? Oh, he's so nervous. Don't worry. Don't worry. You can play him. It's okay. He's got the angel today. It's dumb.
Tony Danza's the aging pitcher who might be done, but he might have it. He might just have a little bit left.
Oh,
it's great.
So it didn't win an Oscar for screenwriting, I'm guessing.
No, it didn't. But another fun little nugget is Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays a foster kid in it because so that's like the whole impetus of this. His dad is a deadbeat, and he, shows up at one point to the foster home where Joseph Gordon-Levitt is staying, and he's like on a motorcycle because he's bad and he doesn't care about his kid, and he's like, "When are you gonna? Are you ever gonna come back for me? Am I gonna see you again?" He says something along those lines to his dad, and then his dad says like, "Well, from where I'm standing, maybe I'll come back like when the Angels win the pennant." He's looking at the Angels stadium thinking the Angels stink and they'll never win the pennant. But then the Angels help the Angels win the pennant. It's very touching. It's very heartwarming.
but guess what? The dad never came back because after he got on his motorcycle, he drove straight head first
This is true.
into a freaking quarry and died instantly.
But then Danny Glover adopted him. Not only him, but Danny Glover adopted the younger foster brother
Which
that was also living
which
in the
was so
home.
selfish. I mean, it was just job security.
It was so sweet. It was very touching. And another little fun factoid is the foster mom, played by Brenda Fricker, also played Pigeon Lady in The Home Alone 2. Really, really warms the heart.
Wow.
So awful movie. I'd say Little Big League
Terrible.
is probably the. I mean, Sandlot's number one. I almost like Little Big League better than Rookie of the Year.
Oh, but Rookie of the Year's also got Daniel Stern as the pitching, or no, it's the hitting coach. He's the hitting coach, and he's freaking hilarious.
There's some good scenes in there. But Angel in the outfield, turn that bitch sideways and throw it away.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll put that as a neg.
Yeah. Mr. Taylor, before Mr. Rollo starts reciting his whole childhood. You have any others that come close to the natural for you?
Um, well, Major League, obviously. Um, the lines from that movie and uh, the one I always use at Fenway whenever the Red Sox are pitching from Bob Uecker, God rest his soul, is ball eight,
Just a bit outside.
ball four, ball eight. Love that one. Um,
Classic.
Charlie Sheen may be, a really fucked up dude, but I do enjoy his stuff.
Especially in the 80s, back when he still had it.
Yeah. Um, I do like his movies. What else do I like? Have you ever seen the Eight Men Out, Quinn?
So you know what? It's funny you mention that because there's two that get cited a lot as being like great baseball movies. Pride of the Yankees is one of them. That's a really
Yeah.
old one. And then Eight Men Out, neither of which I have actually seen.
It was pretty good.
Ooh, look at that wild thing.
Huh?
Oh, look
Um,
at that.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah, buddy.
Wow.
8 Men Out. I've seen.
Did you like it?
I did. I did. Um, it's certainly a. I've heard people who I guess um, criticize it for not as being historically accurate,
Mm.
but it does cover like Arnold Rothstein,
Mm.
Old Fix. It does get into um, the characters and Comiskey and some of the players and how certain guys were roped in, and it certainly humanizes, um, like Shoeless Joe
Yeah.
Mm.
and some of the other players. Even if they did take the money, they left the Shoeless Joe thing a little ambiguous
Mm.
as to whether or not he was involved. But
So Rothstein was involved with that scam? I didn't realize that.
Arnold Rothstein,
He's depicted in Boardwalk Empire, right?
yeah, in fact, he referenced in the first season of Boardwalk. One of
Uh,
the things he's under trial for that he keeps referencing
is that the
is
Black Sox scandal?
100%. Yeah.
Ah, interesting. Okay, I have to. Talk about something I need to go back and rewatch.
Oh,
Boardwalk Empire is
Boardwalk
one I
Empire.
definitely have to rewatch.
Yeah.
Have you seen that show, Matt?
Yeah. No, I have
Oh,
not.
Dude.
the favorite of Greco's in mine. It's great.
William H. Macy.
No, Steve Buscemi.
Yes, it was.
Yep,
Yeah, I
yep.
always get those two mixed up.
They do have a similar visage to them.
Yeah.
Mm.
He he's not the Buscemi that you know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um
He's amazing in it.
yeah, yeah. The dude who plays Capone.
Oh, he's great too.
And actually, it's gonna kill me. And Rollo, maybe you could do this with your little fast fingers, but I'm pretty sure he was in a baseball movie. I don't know if it was um the Jackie Robinson movie.
Let me look this up real quick. Boardwalk Empire. Capone was played by Stephen Graham. Stephen Graham was
Could have
in.
been 61.
Let's see. Ooh, talk about a sneaky great baseball movie. One of the earliest HB like straight to
HBO.
HBO movies.
Yeah. Which one
That
was it?
um just when you said 61, I don't know if that's
Oh
the one
yeah.
that he's in, but 61, I just remember that movie being really, really
Fantastic
good.
movie.
Really good.
Yeah, fantastic.
Let's see. I'm
The
still
Roger Mary story.
so good.
Yeah.
Which one was that?
61.
Oh yeah, that was a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thomas Jane plays Mantle, and Barry Pepper plays Roger Maris.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
So I'm curious.
I'm not seeing.
I'm pretty sure he played a catcher.
What baseball movie? I'm going through his filmography right now.
May even have been a cameo.
Do. Okay.
Now the funny thing is, he was in Band of Brothers.
He's been around for a while. Like he's kind of one of those guys that's just been putting together a nice career doing these like character roles where clearly he can make a living doing it, but he's not like he's kind of like one of those guys where you like recognize him, but you're like, wait, what's his name again?
So now, while you're looking that up, and maybe I'm sending you a wild goose chase, but just out of curiosity, I laughed because you brought up Major League. And by the time I came back, we were talking about something totally different. Did we get into Major League at all?
Let's talk about it more.
I just told Quinn my favorite line from that is I use it Fenway whenever the Red Sox are pitching. When Euchre yells ball 8,
Oh, yeah.
I use it all the time. I used to use it with like Wasden or John Wasden or Kimbrel.
Way back Wasden.
One of my favorites in that. You want some white walls? Right?
The which
Al's
one?
tire burn. When he's calling up to get they call him up to be the manager. And he's working at the tire barn. And she's asking if he wants to come and or the GM's asking if he wants to come and be the manager. He's like, quit putting me on, kid. You want some white walls? Right? Fantastic. Fantastic.
And when he pisses on the contract,
yeah,
it's phenomenal too.
Yeah, love it. Love it. I mean, that whole movie.
Corbin Burnson, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, he was great. Yeah, he was great.
Shut up, darn.
Yeah. Wear it. In the for us in this, I mean, this is probably every baseball team out there, but we got this one dude who is 100% Pedro Serrano. Like anything off speed, my man can't touch it. But you throw him a fastball, you're like goodbye. And so once the league caught up to him, like he was nobody threw him anything straight. And so sometimes last year got pretty bad. We started bringing like bottles of whiskey and setting things on fire in the dugout and trying to do the whole Joe Boo thing to wake up the bats, especially his. It never worked, but that's just classic. That's just classic. Yeah.
So Stephen Graham has not been in a baseball movie.
All right. Then I'm thinking about something else.
He's one of those guys. He's got one of those faces, one of those character actors.
Well, since we're talking about Major League, what do you guys think of Major League 2?
I don't think I liked it. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Same.
Yeah. That's where Behringer was the manager. Yeah.
And I mean, I think my favorite part of number 2 was the catcher, who had the yips throwing it back to the pitcher.
Oh yeah.
And so he had to think about Playboy in order to throw it back straight. That was my big get for that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think there was anything else that was really redeemable about that movie.
Did you ever see Back to the Minors? I remember actually seeing that one in the theaters. I was too young to see the first two in the theaters, but Back to the Minors, I just remember being, again, feeling like I was getting a little ripped off because when it got released, it was PG-13. And I'm like, weren't the first two rated R? What the hell's going on here?
I did see it. Um, wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
I honestly I don't remember much about it, but I do
No.
know.
It's pretty
Uh,
pretty unmemorable, seemingly just trying to capitalize on the name. Didn't really have anything to do with much of any of the classic characters at all.
well, so one of the funny things about the first Major League is I remember my sister going to see it. My sister, 12 years older than me,
Mm.
and I remember her coming back and being like, "I want to take David to this movie. It was the greatest movie. He'd love it." And but it's rated R.
Right.
And I was probably, I don't even know how old I was, 5, 10, somewhere in between there. And,
1989 was when it was released.
all right, so 10 or 11.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember her trying to convince my mother that she could take me to it. And so it was told to me that the only thing that would have been a little questionable was when they were ripping the clothes off of the owner for each win.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Um, all right, I'm going to throw one out there. Kind of, I look at it in the same time period. Mr. Baseball.
Oh, that's the one with
Tom Selleck.
Yeah,
is Dennis Haysbert in that too? I think.
you're the movie name guy.
I'm pretty sure Dennis Haysbert's in that. Who, of course, I will always refer to as uh, President Palmer from 24. Any 24 fans here? No.
No,
I
so
like Alicia Cuthbert.
Oh, well, she was also not 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 given many great storylines on the first few seasons of 24, sadly,
Yeah.
but yes.
I enjoy her.
Uh-huh.
so I like Mr. Baseball. I still think about not putting people's business cards in my back pocket. I don't know if you guys remember that scene.
You know what, that one's actually a blind spot for me, and you know what it is. I like, it looks like it came out right in that period when all those kid-centric baseball movies came out, right? Yeah, exactly. Like the 92, 93, 94 range.
What?
and,
That
and
see, I was thinking that was in the '80s.
interestingly enough, because I picture that being 80s
Well,
too, but it
actually,
came out in 1992 actually.
I should have known better. So there's a couple of good cameos in there, right? So Frank Thomas
Uh,
is a cameo. In fact, Frank Thomas is the reason why Tom Selleck's character goes to Japan to play because Frank Thomas is the rookie that took over first base. Um, Griffey's in there. There's a few. I think Carlos Baerga's in there. There's a few good cameos by MLB players in there. And so if you haven't seen it, he goes to Japan. He's kind of like the veteran. He kind of fights against, some of the norms over there, and the fact that he's a big leaguer and he doesn't need to follow their rules. But falls in love with a young lady, coach's daughter, yada yada yada. Redemption does well. End of the story. Good movie, in my opinion. People are probably gonna shit on that, but the funny thing is, one of the things that always sticks with me is when he first meets the folks in Japan, they all give him a business card, and so he gracefully accepts it, but he starts putting it in his back pocket, and they're like, "No, no, no, don't do that." In Japan, it's like you're sitting on their face.
oh, I see.
So even now, when people give me business cards, like it's so easy just to shove stuff in my back pocket, and I won't do it now because of Mr. Baseball.
Life
Interesting.
lesson. There's always
Yeah,
all these life lessons you can get from these movies.
Yeah.
just random stuff that sticks with you.
Uh-huh.
Mr.
Huh.
Taylor, you had seen that one?
Bits and pieces of it. I remember he was at first base and he said, do you have any naked pictures of your wife? Do you want to see some?
Yeah,
That line.
yeah, 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 yeah. Pretty good, pretty good. Um, I don't know.
So I I I can't recall. I feel like this might have gotten um we might have touched on this before in like some other conversation, and I have a vague recollection of how Greco, you in particular, reacted to this movie, but I gotta throw it out there just because it is often a divisive one. But what
I think you're gonna say exactly what I was about to bring up next. Go ahead.
uh, Field of Dreams?
Yes. Okay, so go ahead. I'm curious as to why it's a divisive one.
So I think there's a certain sentimentality to it that that a certain that some people are just allergic to. I think there's a certain kind of suspension of disbelief and just, real wide-eyed optimism and sentimentality to it that I think some people like just and maybe this is from more like of the cynical side of film fans, kind of like that sect that just can't get on that movie's wavelength. And I, for one, just don't understand those people because I find the movie to be uh just one of the one of the sweetest odes to baseball, and uh how it um how it really serves as that kind of that link between father and son for so many. Like the way it just hits that right on is I think just it's so disarmingly earnest that I like it. Like I sort of feel like sometimes it's easy to be cynical, and I just really admire the fact that the movie's really open-hearted, and I really love it. But I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, so I'm just curious to hear how it
I'm
plays with each of you.
I'm not gonna say anything yet, Mr. Taylor.
What movie is this again?
Field of Dreams.
Oh yeah, I do like it.
Mm,
It's not my favorite, but I do like it.
mm.
Do you find it divisive and too nice or
I don't know. You know, I, it's an interesting idea at the time. They carve a baseball field out of a cornfield, and then, he talks about he has a relationship with his father, and that's kind of what it's all about. He can't pay the mortgage on his house, um, when he goes on this crazy trip across country and, he finds James Earl Jones, and, it was an interesting story.
Goes to the Cathedral of Baseball, Fenway
Yep.
Park.
No.
well, I'll tell you what then. I mean I don't know who you're talking to and who these cynics are. Um I don't know if they're communists or not, but um I will tell you that I don't think there's anything wrong with that movie.
Mm.
And um in fact, I think if anybody's dissecting the movie that much and turning into something negative, they need to find another hobby and try to do something more productive with their life.
Or perhaps they need to go to therapy and work through their daddy issues because maybe it's zinging a nerve that's a little too
I'll
raw
tell you
for
what, you know what, and you guys are here to be so nice and talk to them through that. And I would just tell them to shut the fuck up because
I
it's a fantastic movie. And movies are something that you can choose either to watch or not watch. Right.
I
And
agree.
if they start to offend you, guess what? Turn the fucking thing off. I don't know how anybody could be offended by that. The only thing that I think is bad in that movie is my man's blatant disregard for his financial responsibilities. However,
You and Timothy Busfield.
yeah.
Freaking
However,
Timothy Busfield. What a tool
uh,
that guy is.
I will tell you what though, it ended up working out in the end,
Mhm.
and they will come. In fact, they're still
If you
coming
build it, they will come.
annually. They're coming,
Mm.
right? I know you folks are aware of this, but I do own, and I'm going to not do this because the wife is sleeping at the moment. But I do own the shirt that actually has the James Earl Jones
Oh,
speech
that's right. Yes.
about baseball on the back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I will tell you what, Moonlight Graham, um, crossing over the line, little girl choking on the hot dog, and the whatever. Probably not the best cinematic thing, or
Well,
you know, but I'll tell you what, fantastic movie.
it was nominated for Best Picture. Like it's definitely
It should have
uh
been.
yeah, it was nominated for Best Picture. I want to say it was 1989. So unfortunately that year Driving Miss Daisy won, which is not ideal, but let me double check what year that was. Yeah, it was 1989. So you make the argument that Field of Dreams should have won. I think that's better than Driving Miss Daisy. However, the movie that probably should have won Best Picture wasn't even nominated that year, and that's Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee's classic film.
Oh,
But that's neither here nor there.
Whatever. Listen, Field of Dreams, Ray Liotta as Shoeless Joe Jackson
Mm-hmm.
was probably one of the when you hear about Shoeless Joe Jackson and his personality, the
Mm.
last thing I'm thinking about is Henry Hill from Goodfellas as playing him. But I'll tell you what, I love that movie. I
Interestingly enough,
absolutely love
the fact that Ray Liotta is probably forever defined by playing Henry Hill, which
yeah.
came a year later. But for my dad's money, whenever he saw Ray Liotta pop up on any show or movie or whatever, he's like, "Oh, it's Shoeless Joe." he, that's how he knew Ray Liotta is.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I love that movie. I think that's one of those ones that takes up space in my number one list,
Mm,
depending on my mood.
hmm
And around the same time period, another one that's number one on my list and takes up some space around that is hands down Bulls Durham.
Bull Durham. Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking that one might be your cup of tea.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. The funny thing is that we're probably about an hour into this at this point, and the fact that we're just bringing up right now Field of Dreams
Mm.
and Bull Durham.
Yeah.
If anybody actually watches this, they're probably like,
Like, why haven't you said those
right,
yet?
right. Yeah,
What the
why
fuck
is
is
this
Bull
taking so
Durham?
long?
Yeah.
Yeah, why is this taking so long?
Yeah.
I'm curious to you guys' thoughts on Nuke Lelouch and
I love the part where he tells him the pitch and he hits a home run. I think
that's the
that's
greatest.
fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. He keeps
Love
shaking
it.
me up. Yeah. Hey, fastball. Yeah. Well, he hit it like he knew. Yeah, he
Yeah.
did know. I told him. Don't shake me off.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep.
I'm going to defer to your guys' memories of that movie just because I don't know it nearly as well because that's all in that sweet spot of Field of Dreams I went back to see, but Bull Durham I don't have as clear a recollection of. I haven't seen it recently.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Like right now, I feel like we have Mr. Taylor doing as a homework list.
Bull
You got to
Durham
watch
is,
Bull Durham again.
I got to rewatch it. I got to rewatch it.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner, Susan Sarandon. Um, what's his damn name?
Tim Robbins. Tim
Tim
Robbins. I
Robbins.
know
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of Kevin Costner's earliest movies. I think he had only done a few prior to that. One of his big breakouts was a year prior, No Way Out, which is a fun little thriller, co-starring Gene Hackman. Rest in peace, Gene Hackman.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. One of the other great ones is when he gets into a fist fight with Nuke.
Yeah.
and Nuke hits him. And he's like, what hand you hit me with? He's like, my left. He's like, good. You never hit a guy with your right hand. Oh, fantastic.
Yep.
Fantastic. Yeah. Just a great movie. Um,
I find it interesting that baseball tends to, which is what makes Moneyball actually kind of an outlier now that I think about it. I guess it would skew a little. Baseball tends to be really sincere baseball movies or really zany and silly almost.
yeah. Well, and I think that's why I have a hard time like saying my favorite.
Mm. It's all
I mean,
about the mood. Yeah.
yeah. Bang the drum solo slowly.
Ooh.
Just thinking about that. Yeah.
Mm. Early De
Talk about the
Niro.
opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about the opposite
Mm.
of of Major League and
Yeah.
Bull
It's been
Durham.
so long since I've seen that movie.
It's been a long time for me too.
That's a 70s
I
film, right?
barely remember that movie.
A 70s film, Scorsese, black and white.
De Niro.
73. Wow. Yep. So that's like pre Mean Streets for De Niro. That's a really early film.
Yeah. But great film. Um, but that's another one though, where like that and 42,
The Jackie Robinson movie. Yeah.
those are great. And actually, I'll be right back again.
Oh.
He's a junkie with the
Yeah.
movie memorabilia.
Oh yeah. All about baseball, this Greco.
The only thing I didn't like about 42 was I thought it would go further than his rookie year. I thought it would go more into his career than it did.
Well, and I think that's always the ooh,
Oh, okay.
very nice.
More than just a number, boys.
Well, that's the thing though about biopics is I feel like there's two schools of thought. There's some biopics that really do try to do the overview of a person's life, and those I think tend to have a little more mixed results because it's almost like it's impossible to do that almost with a person's life in a reasonably timed movie. Um, or there's biopics that really just try to take a sliver or like kind of like zoom in on a moment and almost try to make that like emblematic of the person or of the career or that sort of thing. And I tend to think that style can be a little more successful just because you're kind of whittling it down and not trying to like do too much in a movie because then you're like almost inevitably going to start like being paint by numbers if you try to like show too much.
Yeah. And I like Chadwick Boseman
Mm.
did a good job.
Rest in peace, him too.
Yep.
He was gone way before his time, man.
I kind of I agree. I think it was done well. Um, I think that they could have at least done like a little maybe like a little fast forward,
Mm. Mm.
right, and just did some of the highlights. And
Mm.
I think ending with the induction in the Hall of Fame would have been great.
Mm.
Um, you know, didn't they reference the Jackie Robinson Award at the end though? Like, and how it's awarded every
I
year.
think so. I think so.
Yeah. So I mean, aside from that, I think they could have done more. I agree with you. But I also agree with you, Quinn. I think unless they made it into like a mini series,
Mm.
you know, uh, it's a lot. But yeah, fantastic, fantastic. Um, and that's one of the great things. I mean, the biopics that you can get out of baseball and the romanticism of it is phenomenal. Um, Another one I like that Mr. Rollo. I know you're not a big fan of.
I think I
Uh,
know which one you're gonna say.
and um, Mr. Taylor, I don't know if you've seen this. It is a little contrived. It is a little um, whatever, but I like the story it tells, and I particularly like it because this is one that I think has utility for me. So this is one that I can sit down with a lady, and she's going to watch quite a bit, and so it does have its uses. And that's For the Love of the Game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I actually like that movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't think I know Mr. Rolo's not your fan.
Yeah, I remember Quinn saying he's not a fan.
It just goes on forever. I'm actually double checking how long it is. You know,
Watch it be an hour and 10 minutes.
which would be a real indictment on it if it felt as long as it did at only an hour and 10 minutes.
She died
Uh,
young too.
for
Kelly
the love,
Preston.
Oh, she
yes, she did. Yes, she did. For the Love of the Game was 2 hours and 17 minutes long. Come on, come on. And you know what could have been excised? All of the freaking ro- basically all of the romantic scenes, which just felt like it dragged everything down.
I'll tell you what, him leaving the perfect game.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. I don't know. I mean, listen, would that ever happen? No. But I'll tell you what.
Well, maybe today it would.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, maybe you know he'd be on the pitch count. They'll yank him in the sixth. Um, but I like that movie a lot.
Maybe if I'm feeling charitable, I'll give it another watch because again, I was in my maybe feeling too cool for school,
Get
uh,
Meg to watch it with you.
late adolescence.
Get Meg to
Uh,
watch it with you. See what she thinks.
yeah, maybe maybe I'll give it another whirl. But one of the things that I do find really curious about that movie is that it was directed by Sam Raimi, who is known for directing Evil Dead, Army of Darkness,
Huh.
uh, Drag Me to Hell.
I would
Uh,
not have expected that.
yeah, like like a really straightforward, conventional romantic drama, and like I guess it was just something I do think from what I read is that he's a big baseball fan, so I guess that was just what really drew him to wanting to do a baseball movie, but not not his typical uh type of movie.
Interesting. Kind of interesting. Not really. So have either of you seen The Babe?
I did. I
Yeah.
remember seeing that also as a kid. I think that came out like 92.
It was all right.
Um, Another one where I think it was, obviously sensationalized. Um, but some good stuff. I mean, obviously they took some liberties with it. Um, but you know, is what it is.
1992. Yeah, see the 92, 93, 94. I'm telling you, they were just churning them out.
Yeah. So I think I mean well actually no, this one's much earlier. I was gonna say the remake, but I think the remake was much later. The Bad News Bears.
Mm. Bad News Bears was, I think, 1976, the original, and
So long since I've seen that too.
then the
Oh yeah, that's
remake
right.
with
And
Billy
the
Bob.
other one's in the 2000s because it was Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah, Billy Bob Thornton was in the remake, and that was actually directed by Richard Linklater. He of the director of Boyhood, the Before trilogy, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight, which, oof, talk about some devastatingly brilliant films. You gotta check those out.
Wow. You missed your calling, Quinn.
Dazed and Confused also. You folks may be familiar with that little
That's the only one that rings a bell. And
School
that's
of
not
Rock.
gonna sell.
He also did School of Rock.
I remember that one. You're not selling. You're not
Jack
selling.
Black.
Yes, yes.
Thoughts on the original?
I really remember very little about it because it's been so long since I've seen it. You're gonna have to.
It's been a while since I've seen the original too, but I do, if I recall, it is 76. What's interesting about that is that in the same year as Rocky, both movies had the distinction of culminating with a loss. And how that kind of put an interesting spin on, a sports movie where you might think it's, not supposed to culminate in that way, but I think subverted expectations in doing so. So um,
Well, I'll tell
not
you
as
what.
good as Rocky, but
The
an
the
enjoyable movie.
the the team that he assembles, the character work, um, down to the car and the drinking problem,
Mm.
um, Kelly coming in on the motorcycle, and the whole deal. And the team's name is sponsored by Chico's Bail Bonds. It's just fantastic. Um, so I mean, Bad News Bears for me, um, not something I'll watch all the time, but I really respect the hell out of that movie because I think it's a riot.
Mm.
I think there's so much humor in there that got really washed out of the later one. And I get it. Much
There's
more politically
a lot of
correct.
stuff in the 70s that you wouldn't be able to get away with 30 years later.
100%. Yeah, much more politically correct, much more. But I'll tell you what a riot.
Yeah.
Chico.
Adam O'Neill and Jack Lemmon.
Yeah.
Jackie Earl Haley too was
Yep.
one of the other kids, one of the other kiddos.
Yeah. Riot. All right. What else you guys got?
I'm trying to think of. We've churned through a lot of them.
We did, but hold on. All right. So we've been really on like a time period. So I'm gonna bring up a time period. And this time period was really highlighted by your folks' success in Boston.
Oh God, I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a handful of them. So I'll start with the obvious one, and then we can go through the rest. Fever pitch. As Boston fans, where are you with fever pitch?
Honestly, I thought it was lame. I like Jimmy Fallon a lot. I think he's funny,
Okay.
but not. No,
What about it?
I just don't. I think people that try to imitate Bostonians, they don't get it right, and that was the case there.
Yeah. I think I think the accents tend to get a little over the top. But all right, Rollo, what do you think?
I loved Fever Pitch. I loved Fever Pitch. Having said that, it's interesting too that it's actually adapted from a British book about soccer that they adapted then to fit baseball. And the movie was initially intended to end on the Sox losing. Because at the time when it was being conceived and being written, the Sox were the perennial pretty good, but would always lose and rip your
Yeah.
heart out. And that was going to be like sort of in keeping with kind of the theme of the movie around, well, this is why you need to invest in a relationship with a real person and not a team that's just bound to let you down. I think that's was probably going to be the whole kind of gist of it, I would imagine. But then when the Sox actually, I still remember when the Sox beat the Cardinals in Game 4, there was a little stretch. And when you saw the celebration, there was a moment where you saw Drew Barrymore and Jimmy Fallon jumping up and down in the outfield. And I remember it being kind of like, what the hell are they doing there? And it was because they were in the midst of filming the movie while the World Series was going on. And they were just like, holy shit, like, we have to try to get down there. And so I think they brought down like a skeleton film crew, like just a few people, like, let's see if we can get some quick shots because we'll potentially have to like rewrite the end of the movie.
I
And
do remember that. Yeah.
sure enough, they did. And I have a soft spot for Jimmy Fallon too. He's another one too that I find some people are just allergic to. Um, and just the chemistry between him and Drew Barrymore. I think Drew Barrymore is a cutie, and they're just got a nice so
Ask.
much so much of a romantic comedy is dependent on the chemistry between the two leads, and I just think they have a nice chemistry, and that ultimately sells it. And you get the Red Sox in there winning their World Series, and I don't know. Like, I mean, sign me up. It's a nice diverting time at the movies.
Yeah, you know what? I like it. I don't mind it.
Mhm.
Um, if it's on, I'll watch it. I don't go out of my way to watch it.
Mm.
Um, but it's it's funny to see how, like, even when they came on the field, which was supposed to be like the end of the movie, right? When she comes running across the field and the
Yes.
security's trying to tackle her and all
She's
that.
running around Johnny Damon. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember that being like I remember hearing about that actually happening during the game where they
Mm.
were, stopping the game so they could film the movie. Um, I think it's kind of neat how they actually were able to kind of like memorialize,
Mm-hmm.
and it happened to be that season.
Yep. Right, right. Like just the timing of it, it's just kind of, nice
I,
nice happenstance.
right. I think that actually makes me enjoy it more.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that that actually happened then.
Yep.
Um, Now, you think Barrymore's cutie. I will tell you that I think, and this may be the only reason why I like this movie, but there's a movie with Billy Brubaker in it
Oh
that
yeah, yeah.
that has a nice swimming scene with the young
Oh,
lady.
This
That actually
Bill.
happened around the same time.
Yeah.
It took place in Massachusetts again, and that's Summer Catch.
Summer
Yeah.
Catch. Yes, with Matthew Lillard and Freddie Prinze Jr. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Horribly acted, but I have to say I've watched it multiple times.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. And Jessica Biel.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Price of admission.
That was back in that uh um Freddie Prinze Jr. Had a grip on ladies of a certain age at that time. I just feel like he was the heartthrob du jour in like the late '90s into the early 2000s, and then he just went away, just poof, because he actually couldn't act all that well.
What were your thoughts on that?
I, another fun little diverting movie, not as um I, I don't think, and I guess I'm certainly biased, but not as uh not as entertaining to me as Fever Pitch, but fun. I always get a kick out of Matthew Lillard too. I think, speaking
I
of
like
like
Matthew Lillard.
chemistry, I think he and Freddie Prinze Jr. have a fun little chemistry because they're also in She's All That together,
Yeah.
and they just have a fun little kind of fun little way that they click. So that was cool to see them reconnect in a movie.
I like in Matthew Lillard with was Sean William Scott.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I like
I like
live
them.
wire, goofy energy.
I like them both.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts there, Taylor?
For what movie was it? Sorry again.
Summer Catch.
Summer Catch.
Yes, I do like that movie. Um, it's because I grew up with the Cape Cod League, so
Right.
um, yeah, and the Chatham A's actually. Um, and I think I was like, why do they focus on the Chatham A's? Well, I thought about it, and the A's and the Orleans Cardinals are kind of like the two signature teams, so to speak, because they're the only teams that had lights, um, for like, a long time. No
Yeah.
other field had lights. So people would, those were the games with the biggest crowds. Um, but I liked, obviously I like Jessica Biel, Brittany Murphy's in it.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
um, who else? Yeah, Matthew
It
Lillard.
wasn't oh wait, no. He's not it.
They had
Oh, it
Kurt
was good.
Downey doing the games.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked it. Liked it. Um Not the same time period, but another more recent one that I feel got less kind of press. Um, Trouble with the Curve.
Yeah,
Justin Timberlake is in that, right?
Yeah.
I like that
Clint
movie too.
Eastwood, Justin Timberlake.
I don't think I ever saw that one.
It's good.
I liked it.
Hmm.
I did. I like that one. Aging scout. Daughter comes up to try to help him. Justin Timberlake's another scout.
Yeah,
They're looking at some player and kind of talking about it. The romance happens.
yeah,
The whole thing. I liked it a lot.
I remember at the time being struck by the fact that Clint Eastwood was starring in something that he wasn't directing. Like he's just been directing for so long that and then sometimes he'll star in it that I was like, wait, someone cast Clint Eastwood and he's not directing it? This is interesting.
Wait, this isn't Gran Torino?
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
he really doesn't make bad movies. He really doesn't.
No. I
Uh,
like that one. I did like that one. Rollo, I'm a little surprised in how much you haven't seen.
I know, I know. Well, certainly something like Trouble with the Curve was kind of uh, that one came out right as I was entering my at the time new relationship with my now wife. So I sort of feel like
Right. I can't go to see a movie with her.
well, we saw movies, but gotta agree on a movie.
Justin Timberlake and well, I mean, obviously Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel have good-looking kids, but
Mm.
Justin Timberlake and Amy Adams would have good-looking kids too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's her name. I forgot
yeah,
about
Amy Adams. Yeah.
that. Yeah, very cool. All right. Well, I almost think we're winding down on this, but I get a question for you. Not a movie, but a miniseries
Mm.
that your thoughts on Eastbound and Down.
Kenny Powers.
Any powers?
I mean, it really kind of set the template for what Danny McBride's whole like persona is ever since.
Certainly did.
Did he ever do anything after that?
Oh yeah,
He did.
Dan- yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Danny McBride. He like I mean he's been in some of the Judd Apatow movies,
okay.
and he also is in he writes, directs, or at least writes and stars in a movie series on HBO right now called The Righteous Gemstones, which is all about like the family that runs one of those like scammy like mega churches. Uh, John Goodman's also in it, and that that show was a hoot. He was also in a show with Walton Goggins called Vice Principals, which was kind of funny. So yeah, he's still kicking around, making
He's a
comedy.
character.
Yeah, being silly.
He's a
Some
character.
thoughts on it.
It was funny.
That's another
I
one
love
that
it.
is prime for a rewatch. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah,
It's
I
been
know.
years. It's been years since I've seen it, but I just remember it's um, you know, I I think it's nice to just see him, uh unleash, and I think it's a more accurate probably portrayal in some ways of what the minors must be like as opposed to major league back to the minors, which was, I don't know, just seemed very milk toast and lame. Uh,
I think Bull Durham will give you that.
Yeah, it does.
Um, I'll tell you what, Eastbound and Down, La Flama Blanca. Um, there's no I in team, but there's a U in some of the most classic lines. Um, I think that whole show is just a riot, and it's one of those ones that I didn't watch right away
mm,
because I was so enthralled with still like The Wire, Boardwalk Empire, that I didn't put enough room
hmm
in my docket for it. But fantastic, love it, and that's one I do rewatch every once in a while.
Well, because it's a half hour show, right? So I learned to cherish those half hour little bite sized shows just because I feel like everything now is, an hour long drama of some kind, and those are all well and good, but you know,
Yeah.
sometimes don't have the attention span for such a thing.
Now, I feel like I've been, and this kind of surprises me, but of all the ones we've been talking about today, I think I'm the one that has had the least that I disliked.
Mm.
My big one was Angels in the Outfield.
Which is for obvious reasons. Even if it was one best picture, you'd probably hate it because it's about the Angels.
Stupid. So there's two though that we didn't talk about that I have to say I dislike,
Ooh, which two?
but I am guilty of watching a few times because if they're on, I tend to suffer through them. Um, the bench warmers.
Oh, pretty
Listen,
much anything with Rob Schneider is going to be a no go for me.
It's just yeah, it's not good. And Mr. 3000.
Bernie Mac, yes, Bernie Mac. Ah,
I do
yeah,
like Bernie Mac though.
That one's better than the bench warmers.
Bernie Mac's a funny dude. Like, I just sort of feel like
I
that was
still
one
don't
of
like
those movies that was just kind of there. I remember that coming out when I was working at Blockbuster, and so I watched it. Like, I brought it home because we were able to, watch movies before they went officially out on the shelves. Kind of because we get them in on Friday, but they wouldn't get put
what
on
a
the shelf until
perk.
Tuesday. I know.
Man,
Talk about really just living it up like a pig and poop. Uh, I I
Every time he brought back a VHS, it was stopped at the boob part. He never had to rewind.
No, I always was kind and rewinded, Greco. Uh, and but Mr. 3000, I just remember kind of being like, huh, well, that was a movie,
You
and
know,
that's about all I thought of it.
I think I liked it more up until I think towards the end,
Mm-hmm.
and how it ended with him, you know, bunting as opposed to just, you know, the payoff wasn't there for me, and it just ruined the whole movie.
What does he think he is, Ichiro? Come
one that I thought about that I didn't
Thank you, Taylor.
I was have you guys ever seen Cobb? I was hoping to
Oh,
see
I never saw it, but now I need to look it up because I remember seeing the cover box of it. I need to
I
Tommy
remind
Lee
did
myself.
Jones.
I did see it, and I'm glad you brought it up. It was
Tommy Lee
so long
Jones,
ago
that's
though,
right.
Yeah.
and it was only once.
Mm.
So that's certainly something I should probably rewatch. What'd you think of it?
It was
Mm.
okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping to see more it kind of focused on more after he was a player. Um
Right. It was like more like coming to grips with
yeah, like he
like
was, you know, a heavy drinker and abused everybody he came in contact with and um I was hoping for a little more, but it wasn't bad.
I'll have to watch it again. Well, so it's funny, um, because we're I mean, I think we've I don't know, you guys tell me, I think we've kind of come full circle with the movies,
Hmm.
right? However, I still think it's a good idea, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I say we pick a couple, watch them
Mm.
together, and just kind of talk about them as we go. You go with that?
That'd be fun.
Cool. So I think we should do that. However, there are a couple things that I think we should discuss that aren't movie related, but more baseball related that have happened in the past couple weeks since we last spoke.
Mm.
One, um, Mr. Rollo. I don't know what you're gonna do now because the Yankees are getting rid of the punchable faces.
Wait. Oh, because of the facial hair. Yes, yes, yes. This is true.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Hey, or maybe they just, it sounds like they agree with me and they just couldn't take looking at Garrett Cole's stupid fat face anymore without facial hair. And it's just like, just grow your facial hair back for the love of God. Same thing with who? Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Verdugo, too. My God, that guy's an unsightly clown without any sort of facial hair.
So, aside from the appearance of men, that Mr. Rollo likes to discuss a lot, we got to talk to Meg about this. Um, the, the thing that I'm more curious about is what do you guys think of the the tradition that again, I mean, it was it's not like it's been around since the 1900s or 1910s, but Steinbrenner put in place of the rule about facial hair with the Yankees and how that reflects on the team going forward. Does it change things for you? Does it make you think about it differently? Is it an archaic thing? They should have got rid of it a long time ago.
It shows me that they're not as much of a fucking control freak as their dad.
Okay. And so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But you would also then wonder, do they care as much as their dad did? Because that's the sort of, if I'm given the if I'm given if I'm playing devil's advocate here, George Steinbrenner was a dick, but partly at least that was because he really cared about getting a winning team on there. And to what to whatever extent the stupid facial hair policy had anything to do with that, obviously, I mean, it has been so tied into the kind of mystique of the Yankees that it does sort of feel like a vestige of baseball nostalgia has gone away. Um, but um, but also at the end of the day, it does sort of feel a little frivolous to like hold such a policy.
I mean, I think, Steinbrenner's kids still spend the money.
True,
The Yankees are still spending money and investing in the team. Uh,
true.
when I talk to Yankee fans, they don't like Yankee Stadium, the new Yankee Stadium. It's too much money. It's a corporate Yankees. It's a lot of what baseball has become. But
Mhm.
um, you know, I I think they're trying to carry on the good things that their dad did in terms of putting a good baseball team on the field and spending money and caring about the product they put out there.
Yeah. Well, so I don't I agree with you. They're spending the money. I don't think they're the Yankees of old though,
Mhm.
No,
where you now have the Mets in the same city
Mhm.
outspending them, and you also have the Dodgers.
yeah, now you
So
do. Yeah,
I almost think if George was around,
He'd be like, "What the hell is this?"
it
yeah.
would be the Mets would sign somebody,
Uh-huh.
he would pay more for somebody,
Yeah.
and it would just be um, you know, I think about something that's true to the Yankees and only to the Red Sox, and I'm curious about it. And that is, I mean, I'm wearing a shirt that says the name on the front is who you play for. The name
Mm.
on the back is who raised you. And then on the bottom it says do them both proud, right? The Yankees and the Red Sox don't have names in the back of their jerseys
Mm.
for a couple reasons. One is you play as a team and your only identity is the fact that you're a player for the Red Sox and the Yankees. You're not an individual. You're a Red Sox or you're a Yankee, right? And the other thing is that you know what? You play well enough. You don't need the name in the back of your jersey for the
Right.
people to know who you are,
Hmm.
right? So you take that to the field,
Those franchises, yes.
Hmm.
right? Right. And but that's the reason that they don't put the names in the back of the jerseys, right? And I'll tell you what, there's nothing that really bothers me more when I see a replica Red Sox or Yankees jersey with a name on the back. I think it's obnoxious. But
I have a Pedro Martinez jersey with that name on the back.
but I'll tell you what, I'm not a fan of either, but I respect that part of it. And there's a part of me that respected the fact that if you were a Yankee, you were held to a certain standard.
Mm.
There was a certain level of um, respect that came with being a Yankee. And I think there's some players who looked at that as being an honor of, you know what, I'm a Yankee, so now I got to cut it, right? It's almost like I remember, um, the first time I had a job where was pretty corporate, where I could wear a suit, or I had to wear a suit. And I remember on like casual Fridays, what that meant is I could wear an undershirt or a shirt underneath my suit, like a button down, that was a different color other than white or gray.
Mm.
Like it was a certain standard though when you walked in those doors that you know what I have to hold myself to a certain standard because this is what the company's doing. And I think there was something to that. There was maybe a mistake, and maybe I'm overthinking it, but I always felt as though that was something that the Yankees had above other teams. Um, I get why they're doing it though, so they did, and what I appreciate and how they did it, and whether this is true or not, this is just what I saw was reported that they actually went to some of the players, Judge, um, Giancarlo, some of the old heads there, and said, "Hey, what do you think about if we were to get rid of this policy?" And some said, and I think Judge was one of them, and I may be misquoting him, but I think he was saying, "Well, um, if they're not willing to shave, then that means they don't want to be a Yankee,
Hmm.
right?
Mm.
If it's just because of facial hair, then we don't know necessarily need them on this team because they don't want to be part of this team. And then the other side of it was, well, why lose a potential free agent or somebody who's going to help us make the team better
Mm-hmm.
just because they don't want to shave?
Mm.
And so, I mean, we didn't bring it up, but it was the trade they made with Milwaukee for their closer. Is it Jerome Williams?
Devin Williams.
Devin Williams.
Yeah.
Devin Williams. And that ended up being the catalyst for it.
The problem with Steinbrenner is, or was, I haven't noticed this in his kids. He always took it too far. Always.
Mm.
Um, just his nature to control always went too far.
So was the facial hair too far?
For as long as it was, yeah. Um, but I think I guess it's not a huge deal, but um, it was the whole mark of him as a person. He got kicked out of he was suspended from baseball for like 3 years, 2 or 3 years, because of the
Yep.
whole thing with Dave Winfield. Um, and I think he was suspended another time back in the 70s because of illegal political campaign contributions.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
But
I read
that
his book.
like that whole thing with Dave Winfield was like just insane, dude. Like, what's wrong with you? And he would do that shit a lot. Just his whole relationship with Billy Martin was just completely fucked up. Like he would just take things too far. And I think you know, I understand people wanted to look professional and stuff like that, but I think with Steinbrenner was more of about control.
Now, would you argue that um, the way he did things and how he controlled it produced a winning team?
Of course.
And since his death and the kids taking over, they got one, but otherwise they've been kind of fringe.
I don't think they've developed players uh, as well as when. But you got to remember too, after Steinbrenner came back, um, he allowed his baseball people to do their job, at least more than he did before.
Mm-hmm.
Or he would just interfere with Billy Martin all the time. He would interfere with Gene Michael all the time. He would fire. The Yankees had like 12 managers in the 80s, at least.
So I'll tell you what, I'm going to disagree with that a little bit.
How so?
So talk about developing their own players, right? That Yankees dynasty, who the homegrown talent they had?
Pettit, Posada, uh, Pettit, Posada,
Jeter,
Jr., Bernie,
Rivera,
yeah, Rivera,
Bernie Williams. Who else?
uh,
Not Paul O'Neill,
no,
not Masui.
Shane Spencer. Let's see. Who's our second baseman? Soriano didn't stay. Um,
But even before that, during the dynasty years, I mean, really, when you talk about the '90s, was Knobloch. It was um, blank. It'll come to me. You had Brocious,
yeah,
Brooks.
who was an A back in the day. You had Boggs, who was a
yeah,
Red Sox. You had Paul O'Neill.
O'Neill. Yeah.
I mean, you didn't have you had 4 or 5 guys that were homegrown. The rest weren't. You look at the Yankees now. Judge, right?
yeah.
Um, what's his name? The freaking shortstop. I did this last time too. I like the kid too. Anthony
Volpe.
Volpe, right? You
Yeah.
got Roderick Iris coming up. I mean, you have
Torres.
Torres. I mean, you have a team that is ultimately probably more from the farm system, aside from like what Chisholm and
Pitching. They don't have great pitching.
oh no,
Well,
they don't.
developing pitching.
Right, they don't. But that's even during the dynasty years. So I mean, all you could say is they had Pettit and Rivera,
Yeah, the homegrown guys. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So I think
Mendoza.
Steinbrenner brought in more free agents at a higher clip and for more money collectively
Probably.
throughout the league and set the standard for spending more. If it wasn't for his success in the 90s, we probably wouldn't see salaries as high as they are for free agents. He set a standard of how much a free agent's worth and paid him.
Think about the fact that he bought the Yankees for $10 million.
Unbelievable. Can you imagine that? I mean,
That's
$10 million is not a little, but I'll tell you what, he turned it into a lot. A lot. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this facial hair thing.
Can I just share a clip, a little 30-second clip
Please.
that I think is very applicable to this facial hair issue?
I am incredibly intrigued.
You may be familiar with it if you're a fan of The Simpsons, but I just always think of it.
Oh, I know exactly what you're going to be talking about. The sideburns.
Yeah. I have it all queued up. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
I can. Make sure you share.
Get rid of those sideburns.
What sideburns?
You heard me, hippie. Mattingly, for the last
Is
time,
that
get
audio
rid
sharing?
No, you're good. You're good.
of those side. Mattingly, get rid of those sideburns.
What sideburns?
You heard me, hippie. Mattingly, for the last time, get rid of those sideburns.
Look, Mr. Burns, I don't know what you think sideburns are, but...
Don't argue with me, just get rid of them. Mattingly, I thought I told you to trim those sideburns. Go home, you're off the team for good.
Fine. Still like him better than Steinbrenner.
Yeah, I do. I knew exactly what we were gonna say because you know what? It was funny. I was watching something and they pulled up that exact clip in reference to this.
It's just classic.
The A's had the opposite policy in the early 70s with Charlie Finley.
Grow the mustache. We'll give you a bonus. Yeah, way to market.
He was an asshole too.
Oh, he was there. I'll tell you what.
Colossal asshole.
Yeah, he was worse than Steinbrenner. Finley was a criminal.
Yeah.
He was a criminal.
Yep.
I got his book too. He was a criminal.
You wrote a book? Wow.
It was it's not an autobiography. It's just a biography. So it was written with conjunction with some of his family contributing to some of the stories. But it's probably about as favorable of a depiction as you can imagine of him. And it still isn't very favorable.
I think what he did, he tried to release a player during the World Series.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Well, he didn't want to pay him.
Because he made 2 errors, I think.
Yeah.
Mike Shannon, maybe, or
yeah, it was. And not only that, he tried to give you was it Fight a Blue and I don't remember who the hell it was. But basically he was trying to like get out of paying salaries. And so he traded to the Red Sox, Vita Blue, and I don't think it was Bando, but he tried to ship them over to you guys for like crackers. It was like just cash.
Yeah.
It was very little of it. And the league was like, absolutely not.
And they voided it. Yeah. Yep.
That could have changed the whole course of your franchise history had you had that. Um, but that was, I mean, they were in the midst of 3 in a row, and he's trying to like sabotage the team as they're going. Absolutely insane. And actually, if you watch 8 Men Out,
Mm.
in that movie, they depict a similar kind of evasion of salary um, in that movie with relates to Comiskey.
Oh yeah.
So
Right.
you'll see some of that, and that was supposedly like a catalyst for them to take the Rothstein deal.
I see.
It makes you think. Like
Yeah,
if you're getting screwed on pay,
100%.
you know,
Yeah.
like,
Right, and especially back then. I mean, you weren't getting paid
yeah, no.
much, right? So, um, there was something else about spring training I wanted to bring up. I'm drawing a blank. So, you boys have anything else?
Um, I'll bring it up next week.
Okay, great. I
Heard
like it.
something about Pete Rose. They want to
I
bring. They want
heard
to
the
like.
same thing.
Mm.
Yeah, the pardon of Pete Rose. Well,
Mhm.
so we'll just bring this up.
Yep.
I don't know what he's pardoning.
Yeah, because there was never actual criminal. Like
Charges.
there was something about his like tax, like he did something with his taxes in 1990 that
Right.
he served a few months in prison for. But what like
It has nothing to do with him getting to the Baseball Hall of Fame, and it's not like he's going to be able to make it so baseball will let him back in. Now, I think we're clear where I stand on this. If the president, and I don't care who the president is, had the opportunity to sit there and say, "Hey, you know what? Maybe baseball, you should recognize the best hitter of all time." And granted, I hate him. I hated how he looked. I didn't like. I respected his play. My man should be in.
Feel the same way.
Should be in. Rollo is just angry because he can never grow a Pete Rose haircut.
it's true. I
That makes
can't.
2 of us.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, see, you don't care. He gets mad if somebody has a punchable face. So I think I think that the thinning on top and the fact that he can't get those flowing locks makes him angry at Pete Rose.
It's very sad. Very sad.
But yeah, no, I'm with you. That actually may have been the other thing I was thinking about. By the way.
Mm. Mm.
Um, cool. All right. Anything else, gents?
I don't think so.
Well, thank you, folks. And hey, just as a reminder, always wave it fair.